Okay, so a guided practice means that I will guide you guys through. Okay, I also reckon that next week onwards will be block tests, right? Everyone has block tests, right? Most. Okay, so would you all agree that we should keep the session short today? Yes? Okay, so I intend to keep it within 90 minutes, okay, and we will have lesser practice questions. Okay, so the area of interest that we'll be looking at is question A, question B, and question C. Okay, so you can box them up. Okay, question A, question B, and question C. So the order of today's practice question, okay, we'll break down into three halves. Okay, so we will have three separate, okay, short practices. So we'll kick off with an outline first. Okay, I'll task you to do an outline. After that, we will compare outline and we'll kickstart the first time practice. Then we'll repeat the cycle for part B and part C. Okay, if possible, we probably won't have a break today. Okay, and then we can probably end within the 90 minutes mark. Okay, is everyone happy with this arrangement? And alright. Okay, so for part A1, right, and A2, I would like you guys to do the outline. Okay, make sure you submit your outline together with your script. Okay, with your written assignment. Okay, with your written answers. I'd like you guys to spend the next 5 minutes to do an outline. Okay, next 5 minutes to do an outline. Okay, and after that we'll compare outline. And okay, I'll get you guys to share your answers in a short while. Okay, 5 minutes. Let's go. Alright, everyone, time's up. Stop writing. Okay, or stop your outline. Remember to submit your outline together. Okay, so with this, okay, I will probably get one of you each, okay, to share, okay, each of the questions. So, who wants to volunteer? If not, I'll pick. And normally the ones who start earlier will be easier, like, because you get to pick questions. Which one do you want to pick? Yeah. So question A. Who likes to volunteer? If you are ready, you can just unmute and share.
I can do A.
Oh, okay, good. Wise choice. Okay, question. Okay, Cheryl. Hey, go ahead.
I think like first we should talk about the general trend. Like both the HDB and the condos saw an increase in average price per square foot.
Okay, let's put a stop there. Okay, so we want to identify a similarity, okay, in both of their prices. Okay, so when you want to identify a similarity, make sure I see the keyword both. Okay, both, okay, are generally increasing. Both are generally falling. Okay, or something along the line. Okay, so keyword here, both. Okay, and remember to omit all the absolute figures here. I don't want to see any citing of what $10,000, $5,000. The moment you cite absolute figures, I'll mark you cross. Okay, so I just need to see them in words. Now, okay, difference. Cheryl, go ahead.
The average price for the condo increased to a larger extent, with the largest increase in 2009.
Okay, so there is a sharp increase, okay, for condo price, right? Okay, do y'all accept that? Okay, accepted. Yeah, there are a lot more, okay, but you can find other things to talk about. Okay, so you want to find out an anomaly here. Okay, so in this case, Cheryl pick up a rate of change. Okay, so I will show you other variations later. Okay, but a side note, the difference that you identify in A part 1 is not going to help A part 2. Okay, because A part 2 requires you to look at HDB flats. Okay, so Cheryl, would you like to go on to illustrate A part 2? Okay, how do you approach A part 2?
Can the demand side factor be like expectations of future prices?
Okay, sure. Where do you get it from?
From the seller's stamp duty in extract 2.
Okay.
Yeah,
Seller stamp duty. All right. Let's go on. Go on. I'm not saying that you're right or wrong. I just want to hear from you.
Yeah, so with the imposition of the tax, then they expect like the future prices to go up and hence wait.
Hey, so remember, your job is to convince Mr. Teo, not confuse Mr. Teo, right? So you brought up a point, expectation of future price. So when Mr. Teo asks a question, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're wrong, okay? But you have to justify why, right? So you mentioned that, okay, sellers or rather speculators, when they anticipate, okay, that in the future they are going to incur a higher buyer stamp or seller stamp duty. Okay, they are going to buy first now, right, to avoid the tax. Agreed? Okay, and in that case, that works. Okay, but you need to justify. Okay, so expectation of future price. Okay, expectation is accepted. Okay, so Egypt. So this is how I would break down this question. So when you do this question, I want you all to focus on the format of how you answer. Okay, so 5 marks. Okay, you want to identify, okay, the demand factor. Okay, so you want to cite from the extract, Okay, which part of Egypt was mentioned? Okay, so in this case, E could be there, but it depends on how you explain that. Okay, so just now I think I gave you guys an answer already, right? Okay, I put identify the demand factor, ID. Okay, so you can pick this. Explain the demand factor, you got to use the price adjustment process. Okay, so a simplified one will do. Okay, I've covered this many times. Okay, whenever there is a demand factor present or supply factor present, you need to identify the direction of the demand shifting. Okay, followed by a shortage or a surplus or an upward and downward pressure on price. Okay, so focus on your PAP process. Okay, now, is there another factor? Cheryl?
For the demand or
I don't
for
know.
the supply?
The next one. You already brought up a demand factor, right? So what is your next reason?
For the supply, I think
Okay, you need to find a wet peaks factor. So which of the wet peaks factor is present? Which alphabet?
government policy.
Okay, what about government policy?
Can it be the seller stamp duty again?
Sure. Then how are you going to justify that?
Because like it's become more expensive, so there is like an upward pressure on the price.
Okay. So this is why I mentioned that A1 and A2 are closely related. And just now, the answer that you provided in A1, the anomaly is not helping here. Okay, so if you look at condo and HDB, another anomaly that you can consider, would be number one, HDB price is consistently lower. Agreed? Okay, the second anomaly that you want to consider is HDB price is more stable. That is also accepted. So in this case, this is going to be a clear winner. I'm going to explain to you why is this better. Okay, because A part 2 is asking you about HDB prices, right? So the anomaly that you have selected here, if you pick HDB price is consistently lower, then your supply factor here would be an opposing factor. What is an opposing factor? Okay, it simply means that it goes against the earlier demand factors. So you see that earlier on, we say that there's an expectation of future price, and this will exert an upward pressure on price, right? Okay, so the supply factor that you pick here should oppose the initial factor. Okay, so explain your supply factor. You can use the PAP process here. Okay, so I would like you guys later on to try. Okay, what is the supply factor that you have identified? Okay, that is going to lead to a downward pressure on price. Okay, and remember, the last mark goes to explain the opposition. So realize that the first 2 marks goes to a higher price level. Okay, the next 2 marks goes to a lower price level. Okay, so the last mark, we have to conclude that your demand factor the demand factor outweighs the supply factor. That's why it's gradually increasing. Okay, so the keyword here is gradually increasing. Do you see that? Okay, gradually increasing, and is consistently lower. Is everyone okay with this approach, or do you understand this approach? Okay, so it's important to list this opposing factor here, okay, in order to justify, okay, A part 1. From A part 1, that's why A part 1 you got to be a bit more sensitive, and A part 2 you need to identify that the focus group here is HDB. Okay, if you use another increase in price here, then it will not justify that HDB price is consistently lower, right? Okay, you have to find another factor that lowers the price, such that HDB price is still increasing but consistently lower. Okay, so the other factor that you want to identify is a supply factor here. Clear? Alright, okay, so I've given you guys enough tips. Okay, you realize that I might as well solve the thing for you. Okay, but this is like a guided practice. Okay, so let's take it easy and slow. So I'll give you the next 10 minutes, okay, to finish up this script. Can? Okay, so we'll go in 5-10, 5-10. Okay, so finish up the first question in 10 minutes. Okay, once you're ready, okay, let's begin. Meanwhile, if you have questions for me, please list it in the group chat. Yeah, I'll take questions. Okay, great. Time's up. Stop writing. Okay, so once you have your green pen, okay, we will do correction together. Okay, so prepare a green pen, okay, and we'll kickstart, okay, right now. So the easier part on A part 1, as I've mentioned earlier on, okay, is to identify a similarity and difference. This is a trend comparison question, 1S and 1D, if not two differences. Okay, so the second thing to note is that you have to look at the question in total. Okay, so A part 2 is specifically about HDB flat. Okay, and therefore your answer in A part 2 must somewhat address why is your HDB flat consistently lower than your condo prices, although both of them are increasing. Okay, so keywords that I'm looking out, okay, for similarity would be both. Okay, I'm so sorry, I forgot to bold the keyword both. Okay, if you don't have both in your answer, I'll mark you wrong. Okay, okay, so please be really careful, okay, for trend questions like as such. Okay, and tell me that they are generally increasing. If you put generally increase, I will accept. Okay, but okay, I would like you guys to omit all the numbers. Okay, I do not need to see any numbers. No need to say $10,000, $5,000. No need. Okay, as for the difference, okay, you can state that the per square foot price of HDB flat was consistently lower, or you can talk about, okay, the condo price. Just now was mentioned by Cheryl. Okay, there was a particular year that experienced a sharp increase in price. Okay, that is also accepted. Okay, if not, you can state that HDB price were more stable. All right. So with this, okay, A part 2 will be the concern. So sometimes they will not ask you to use this using demand and supply analysis. Sometimes this keyword or this key phrase will be omitted. So when in the absence of this key phrase, you have to deduce what concept or is tested. So it's very clearly demand and supply. Okay, and we also know that there are more than one reasons, okay, based on the distribution of marks. Okay, 5 marks. Okay, it's going to be more than one reason. Okay, so it's more likely to be one demand and one supply factor. And lastly, the emphasis is on HDB flats. That's why I've mentioned that this is actually a better approach. Okay, so you need to state an opposing factor, okay, on the on both demand and supply, okay, in order to justify that the price increment is lower. Okay, so the first demand factor, okay, you can put higher expectation of future price. So my expectation is slightly different from what was covered earlier on. Okay, so you can actually see that in extract 1, okay, it was mentioned that prices are expected to, is it extract 1 or extract 2? Okay, it was mentioned that prices are expected to stay high. So sorry, Hey, can you help me find? Okay, so strangely I can't find it for now. Hey, you can see here. Build to order. Modest impact. Most buyers are right, so we can actually infer here. Okay, that, okay, is it inference? Oh yes, see here. Okay, extract 3, I'm so sorry. Extract 3. Yeah, extract 3. Yeah, extract 3, not extract 1. Okay, maybe I'll cancel this. Okay, extract 3. Yeah, it's right in front of me. Alright, so it's actually mentioned that hey, there's very high, okay, prices of resale flats. Okay, and there is a inherent imbalance. Okay, and they do not expect the prices to be corrected overnight. Do you see that? Okay, so it's expected, or it is an expectation that your prices will remain high for the foreseeable future. Okay, and therefore, okay, this will result in speculative demand for HDB prices, which result in a shortage and an upward pressure on price. So keywords to look out for, okay, this is Egypt. Okay, the E factor. Okay, so whatever answers that you use, make sure it conforms to this framework. When you state the demand factor, I would like to see Egypt. No Egypt, no marks. Right? The second mark will be the price adjustment process. So you want to relate to the direction of the demand, creating a shortage of the surplus, and an upward and downward pressure on price. So in this case, expectation normally comes in with speculative demand. Okay, speculation of higher future prices. Okay, that's why people are buying more today. Huh? Okay, so with that, okay, I hope I'm clear about how to approach this question. Supply factor, okay, you can find from extract 1. Okay, extract 1, okay, is mentioned that there is an increase in number of HDB sales. Okay, what you can see here. Okay, there will be new flats for sale. New flats for sale. Right, so this is expected to increase supply, okay, which results in a downward pressure on price. So a surplus and a downward pressure on price. So this is wet pigs, okay, clearly this is the last alphabet, sellers. Okay. So notice that however you answer the question, the framework doesn't change a lot. So especially students who are still not getting this right, okay, please adhere to the framework for demand and supply questions. Okay, they follow a universal principle. Okay, so it's always the factor, PAP. And the last one, for the last mark to be unlocked, okay, you need to be consistent with A part 1. Okay, you need to state that there is a okay, what we call a gradual increase. Okay, the gradual increase is caused by the opposing factor. Okay, where increase in demand, okay, is counterbalanced with increase with supply. Okay, so when increase in demand exceeds increase in supply, then your price will increase gradually. Okay, if not, if you don't make this assumption, okay, your price won't change. Okay, if the magnitude is the same, okay, price won't change. Okay, so this cannot be true. Or, okay, if the worst case scenario, okay, if demand factor is lesser than supply factor, then, okay, your price will be falling. Okay, so these two scenarios cannot happen. Therefore, you have to make the assumption that demand outweighs supply. Okay, so you have a gradual increase in price. Clear? So all this didn't occur by chance, it occurred by experience and by looking at the question profile. Okay, so it's more about being sensitive to how questions are tested. Alright, okay, so we will quickly move on to A part 2B. Question B. Question B is an easy one. Maybe Alice, would you like to share? Okay, how would you do question B?
The non-genuine buyers are price elastic and the genuine buyers are price inelastic.
Okay, so how are you going to justify that? So this is PED greater than 1. PED lesser than 1. Right?
Because the genuine buyers like have a higher degree of necessity.
Okay. Higher what again? Sorry?
Higher degree of necessity.
Higher degree of necessity. Do y'all accept that? Okay, so higher degree of necessity. So this question, okay, the concept that is tested is PED and determinants of PED. Okay, so you want to state, okay, a very clear-cut determinant. Okay, which of this is going to be, okay, stated in the question. All right. Okay, are there any more? Okay, if not, okay, I will give you the next 5 minutes, okay, to finish up part B. It's not difficult. Okay, so when you are ready, okay, you can start part B now. 5 minutes. right? If you have finished early, you can possibly start with Part C's outline. Okay, you got some extra time for Part C's outline. That's only when you possibly finish Part B early. Thanks. And meanwhile, if you have any questions to check with me, okay, you can PM me or you can unmute yourself. Yeah, thanks. Alright, time's up. Stop writing. So let's prepare your green pen again. Okay, we'll be doing correction together. Okay, so I have two approaches here. Okay, so you look at whichever that works for you. Okay, but the concept that that's tested here is determinants of your PED. Okay, we need PANT. Yeah, this is the book that we'll be using, PANT. Alright, so as mentioned earlier on by Alice, okay, non-genuine buyers' demand is more price elastic. Okay, you need to state. Okay, if not, you can state that genuine buyers are more, their demand is more price inelastic. Okay, and you need to list down why is one more elastic and why is one more inelastic. So the justification is important. Okay, if you state necessity alone, you won't get the credit. Okay, you have to contextualize. Okay, genuine buyers have an immediate need to find a place to stay. Non-genuine buyers, okay, they are likely to have an existing place of accommodation. They are buying another unit for whatever purpose. Okay, so this is how you want to justify necessity and non-necessity from the context of HDB. Check whether you have the contextualization part right. Okay, but on a good day, you'll still get a credit lah. Yeah. Okay, so like I say, if you spelled necessity but you didn't explain, okay, you won't get the second mark. So, okay, another way to explain the difference, okay, is to look at the proportion of income taken. So the assumption is that non-genuine buyers, okay, they exhibit a higher income profile, right? Okay, so when they exhibit a higher income profile, when they buy an additional flat, okay, it will take up a lower proportion of their income. Okay, so wait, give me a second. Non-genuine buyers will be more price inelastic. I'm so sorry. Okay, so there's another way to illustrate this. Like I say, it's all about using the PANT framework. So earlier on, we mentioned that genuine buyers are more price inelastic. So there's another way to show that non-genuine buyers are also inelastic. You could show that, okay, but okay, it requires you to use another alphabet and an assumption here. Okay, so you can use PANT. Okay, proportion of income span. Okay, you can make an assumption that non-genuine buyers, okay, they are likely to be, okay, high income earners, okay, or more affluent. Okay, therefore, okay, property is going to take up a lower proportion of their income. Okay, that is also accepted if you make this assumption. If not, I would say that the second one is actually more intuitive. It's easier. Okay, it's more straightforward. Okay, so always go for the more straightforward answer instead of referring on too many inference. Okay, so necessity is a clear winner here. Okay? Questions? Okay, so necessity is actually mentioned here. See? Buying for their own stay. Okay, while the others are looking for investment. Okay, so if you're buying for your own stay, it means that you don't have a place to stay. Likely. Okay, whereas you're buying for an investment purpose, you're likely to have your own accommodation. So necessity works out better here. Okay, so like I've said, whichever approach that you choose, I'm not concerned about the answer. I'm concerned about how you derive the answer. Your derivation and your persuasive skill is the one that matters the most. Clear? Now, part C will be the focus of the day. Alright? Okay, so I would like all of you to do an outline for part C. You need to think through carefully how to address part C. Okay, do an outline. Okay, and Dylan will present after the outline. Yeah? Okay, so 5 minutes starts now. And make sure you submit your outline as well. I'd like to see. Thanks. Right. Someone asked, what do you mean by stabilizing market price? Stabilizing market price means lowering prices. Okay, if not, there won't be a need to stabilize price. Agreed? Thanks. Okay, great, thanks. Okay, that's it. Stop writing. Okay, so Dylan. Okay, once you are ready, you can unmute. Okay, and share. What is your approach to this question? Okay, and the rest will listen. Dylan? Unmute. Sorry, you cannot hear. Can the ladies hear? Cannot, right? Mic not working.
Hello.
Okay.
Yeah, so I split it up to effective and non-effective.
Okay.
Then,
So first of all, what are the policies first, man?
the SSD, right, the seller stamp duty, is the
And?
policy. Then, I think the SSD is being taxed onto property owners who want to sell the property,
Okay.
usually less than 3 years. So,
SSD?
yeah, I say it's not effective because they will prevent owners from selling their house faster. Then they will not they will not sell. They are not willing to sell because they have to pay a tax.
Okay.
Now, the supply of resale flats will fall.
Okay. Policy
Then-
number 2?
Then if the supply falls, right, the price won't fall, so it won't stabilize.
Okay. Policy number 2? The question state policies, right? Just want to be sure. IES, plural. So have or not? Have a second child? Do you have a second child? Don't have. Okay, let's ask Cheryl. You have a second child?
Wait, what?
My question is, Dylan doesn't have a second child for this question. Do you have a second child? The first one, the firstborn is SSD. Not solid state drive. Okay, so that's the second one. The question state policies, right? How to effectively stabilize price. So what is the second policy aside from SSD?
Is it that owners of HDB flats are no longer allowed to own both HDB and private concurrently?
Alright, so rulings, maybe. How does it work? I'm not saying that it's wrong, okay? Just that you need to elaborate how it works. So Dylan, I want you to listen carefully. Okay, how it works is important. Okay, you need to address the effectiveness first before you go to ineffective. If not, okay, you are not going to get the full credit. Cheryl, back to you. So cannot own two
Wait, I'm
properties, right?
thinking.
So, hey, for students to excel in this profile of questions, you need to have a good understanding of HDB. Unfortunately, okay, you probably only do case studies once in a blue moon, right? Okay, so when you're exposed to this, you probably get caught with your pants down. That's why we're doing this, okay, to really brush up your concept of HDB. This won't be the first, and please pay attention to that. So whenever we attempt such questions, we need to know what concept is tested. Okay, so the concept that is tested, okay, I've covered this under my demand and supply micro lessons. It's known as price reduction policies. Okay, price reduction policies is the key concept. Okay, where is my, yep, here. Okay, so this is the key concept, price reduction policies. Okay, and the framework that we'll be using is demand and supply. Okay, because the question necessitated price, right? You want to lower price. So in order to lower price, okay, you have two approach. Number one, okay, you need to reduce demand or increase supply of whatever. Okay, it could be eggs, it could be a HDB. Okay, but this is the standard process that we are going to approach. Okay, so now the next thing is identifying what is mentioned in the extract. So whatever that is mentioned in the extract is not that important, but how you make use of the extract materials, and that is going to be more important. Okay, so the first one that was mentioned is seller stamp duty, right? So what is the purpose of seller stamp duty? You got to ask yourself, why is it there in the first place? Okay, and what Dylan did not address earlier on. Okay, how it works. Before you tell me ineffective, you always must establish effectiveness first. Okay, I agree with the ineffective part. Okay, but without the effective part, the ineffective part will be diluted. It will not carry as much weight. Well, how it works? So remember, okay, a seller stamp duty is imposed to what? The introduction is a new tax. Okay, can be considered a form of tax for property owners who sell their property of ownage within 1 year. Okay, so who are the people that are likely to buy and sell within a short time period? Why is it only 1 year? So let's say if you buy the property and you reside in this place for a good 3 to 5 years, you're going to be excluded from the tax, right? But what about people who sell within the first year? Okay, it means that they're going to incur the tax. So now, what are the profile of people who buy and sell immediately? And once you can address this, you can address the entire point one. Okay, so these are used to address or to reduce speculative demand, right? Just now we mentioned earlier on that there could be speculative demand in anticipation of higher future price, a faster buy now. Now with a seller stamp duty, okay, it will inhibit or lower demand, okay, by penalizing immediate selling of the flat. So if you know that if you sell the place, the flat within 1 year, you're going to incur a higher tax, would you buy now today? Yes or no? You wouldn't, right? Your initial intent is to faster profit within this 1 year and faster sell. You have no intention of holding on to the property price, the property. Okay, you have a gambler's mentality. Okay, but with this, okay, this is likely to lower speculative demand. Okay, so the whole idea is to play around with this word called speculative demand. Okay, so this is a demand factor. Okay, on how it works. But at the same time, I agree with Dylan. Why? Okay, because for existing buyers, okay, who bought, okay, let's say the property earlier, then they will be unwilling to sell. Why? Because if they sell, okay, they're going to incur a tax, right? Okay, so this will result in unwillingness to sell because supply will fall. Then I agree. Okay, that is probably a good point. Okay, but you need to illustrate how this results in a lower demand first. So play around with Egypt. Okay, so this is the first alphabet, okay, under scrutiny again. How are we going to suppress profiteering activities? How are we going to suppress speculation? Okay, seller stamp duty. So whatever that I have narrated earlier on, write them out in words. And make sure you include the price adjustment process. Okay, price reduction policies will always have price adjustment process, PAP. Okay, so if you're not sure PAP, okay, check out the demand and supply clips that I've shot under the content side. And limitation. Okay, just now Dylan give you all a limitation. If not, you can consider any other forms of limitation. I accept. So far, okay, is everyone clear with this approach? Remember, okay, this is equally important. Don't focus on this. This is ineffective. This is the highlight. Whatever policies that is phrased in this question, don't jump straight to ineffective. You got to explain how it works first. And you have to adopt the correct framework. And you probably need a diagram for this. Good?
Wait, Mr. Teo, what's the word after demand factor?
How it works. HIW.
Oh, okay.
For some schools, you often see this. How it works. It's just that it's too long. Some markers, they will just put HIW, how it works. Okay, so the second policy that you want to consider is actually obtainable in, I think it's extract 1. Okay, a lot of students did not identify this. Okay, so extract 1 tells you that there is going to be injecting of new flats for sale. Okay, so higher or new flats for sale. So now, if you read the question carefully, the question bolded resale flat for a good reason, right? Do you see that? They bold that. But extract 1 tells you new flat for sale. So how are we going to string these two concepts together? So first of all, we need to ask...
but new flats for sale, is it like a policy though?
Right. Okay, so in this case, remember what I've mentioned earlier on, policies, okay, sometimes they will tell you it's a policy. Sometimes there will be activities that's undertaken by the government, okay, that is there to stabilize price, but they won't tell you it's a policy. So you have to deduce yourself, why is there new flats for sale? Why would they want to do that? Right? So do we agree that this is undertaken by the government? Do you think that the government will undertake policies for fun? Okay, they are going to undertake to achieve specific objectives, right? So, okay, as students, you have to think out of the box. You have to be creative in your thinking. Okay, not all answers will be there, okay, for you to cite directly. Yeah? So now let's go back to this. Why is there a need to increase new flats for sale? Remember, okay, it's also going back to our same approach, increasing fall in demand or increase in supply. Okay, these two are what we call price reduction policies that I've actually covered, okay, in the J1 content clip. If I'm not wrong, it's demand and supply part 2. Okay, if you're not sure, check out that clip. Okay, that I covered this a little bit in depth. So this is the contextualization part. So now, okay, how are we going to string out this into? How are we going to relate new flats to resale flats? So first of all, we need to ask ourselves, are they the same? Same or not? Dylan, are they the same? Why aren't they the same? Hey, your mic like something wrong.
Because like they are substitutes.
Okay, so why are they substitutes?
Because you can choose to stay in either one.
Okay. Okay, I like your answer. Very straightforward. So you as a house buyer, you can either choose to wait for a new flat to be built, or you can buy directly from the resale market. So this is a subtle difference. Okay, new flats, okay, are not ready to reside, okay, immediately. It takes time for them to build. Okay, so this is what I call BTO flats. Okay, I believe it was mentioned in the extract. See, BTO, build to order. Okay, so Dylan brought up a very key concept just now. It starts with the S word called substitutes. So this is how you want to illustrate this as a policy. Okay, so with an increase in supply for new flats, this will cause a surplus of new flats and downward pressure on price of new flats. Are you all following me so far? This is how it works. And a lot of students, okay, they erroneously identify, or rather erroneously categorize these two goods as the same category, which is not right. Okay, if you lump these two together, you will only address the supply effect. Okay, whereas the concept that is tested here is substitution. So you have to illustrate that there's going to be a substitution effect. A fall in price of new flats will result in a fall in demand for resale flats. Okay, and this will go through the same process again. Okay, this will cause a surplus of resale flat and a downward pressure on price. I'm so sorry, my head is blocking. On resale flats. So this is the full process that you need to put them in words, and you need to use price adjustment process with a diagram. So the common error is this. The common error students are stuck here. Okay, this is not the complete sequence. Okay, the complete sequence have to hinge on substitution. So your job later is to tell me what is one limitation. Okay, I'm not going to spell out the limitation for you and synthesize them. In your opinion, which one is better and why? Clear? So I'm going to give you all 20 minutes to complete this assignment. The last leg. Okay, after that, okay, I will go through the answer. So today we'll probably end around 11:15ish. Okay, I'm so sorry I overrun. Yeah, can? 20 minutes? Or you all want lesser time? Then we end earlier. More or less. Yeah, then I start already. Okay, so if I don't hear from you, then I'll probably give you all slightly more time. 20 minutes. Okay, I've given you guys the outline. Okay, you guys can start. Okay, for those who are conceptually stronger, work on your synthesis. Okay, you got to justify which policy is more effective to stabilize price. Clear? Okay, thanks, good luck. Okay, great. That's it for your time activity. So please turn on your webcam. I will activate the answer key right now. Now, give me a second. Okay, so the answer key. Why did I close my? Okay, so the lesson 17 folder, I'll activate the answer key right now. Okay, so I just want you all to do corrections. Okay, after we end the session, and submit. I'll give you all 30 minutes to submit. Okay, so right after our session ends, okay, 30 minutes, and submission beyond that will be given 0. Okay, so yesterday I think there were some students that say that Mr. Teo has a too short of a turnaround time. Okay, so I give you all 30 minutes to submit. Okay? Okay, so don't be too stressed. So with that, okay, I've activated the answer key. Okay, all you need to is just to refresh the folder and you should be able to see the answer key in the folder. Yeah? Okay, so let me know, okay, if you are not seeing the question, the answer key. Okay, if not, okay, I will quickly go through the answer together. So I would just like to touch on the outline again. Okay, so I've earlier on I've forgotten to mention that this is actually another Egypt factor. Okay, price of your related good. Okay, so G is tested here. Okay, so these two are demand concepts. So make sure you're able to identify the concepts that are tested explicitly. So with this, I'm going to move on to how are we going to tackle the question together. Alright, so number one, okay, just now someone was texting me, how do we interpret stabilize? Okay, so stabilize means to lower the price of resale HDB price. So earlier on, we've seen that prices are going up. So that's the only way to stabilize price. Yeah, you also have to look at the context of the extract and look at things as a whole. Okay, next we need to look at multiple policies. So one of them is not sufficient, and make sure you state clearly which policy. So one of the common mistakes that a lot of students make, okay, is they tell me the policies are effective, the policies are ineffective. So this way of approach is going to dilute your answer because you're not identifying the respective policies and elaborating how it works. Okay, so immediate dilution will cap you at L1. So a better approach is not a thesis and anti-thesis approach. Okay, it's policy 1, policy 2 approach. Give me a second, my nose is very itchy. So sorry, I don't know why. Just now I was helping my wife to clear some dirt or some dust. Okay, and lastly, okay, you need to look out for limitation. Okay, effectiveness will always result in a limitation. Clear? Okay, so with this, okay, this is the approach that I recommend. If not, you can look at the outline. It's the same. Okay, policy 1 and policy 2. So don't, okay, common mistake 1, okay, don't group up the policies together and address them as a whole. Split them up one by one and build your depth. Okay, so now let's quickly run through, okay, what is required. Okay, price stabilization means that you will want to reduce your market price or you want to slow down the rate of increment. Okay, so we have supply stamp duties and the increase of the new flats in August, okay, as seen in the extract. So seller stamp duty, not supply stamp, the seller stamp duties. Okay, the intention is to lower speculative demand on non-genuine buyers. Okay, so speculators are being targeted, and if these buyers were to sell off their HDB flats within 1 year, okay, in the immediate future, they will incur a higher cost, okay, and a lower expected profitability. So the keyword here is expected profitability for selling their flats immediately, okay, or acts like a penalty. Okay, so these will lower, okay, speculative demand. Okay, and this is your price adjustment process. So there are some exceptions for duties here. Most of the time when we encounter tax, the first thing that we will think about, okay, is what? Okay, is indirect tax. Okay, so especially for property market, it works slightly differently. Okay, the intent of this tax are mainly to penalize buyers, okay, or speculative demand. So look out for, okay, how it works. How it works, the bolded keywords are the ones that I'm looking out for. okay, penalizing of speculators and lowering their expected profitability, such that it is not profitable to buy at the present moment. And this will lower speculative demand, okay, and create a surplus and downward pressure on price. Okay, this is the limitation that I have stated. If not, you can stick to Dylan's approach. So we can see that, okay, your seller stamp duty is not going to affect people with genuine demand. So for people with a genuine demand, okay, they are not going to be put off by seller stamp duty, right? Because they are going to stay there for a long period. So we also look at what is the profile and what is the population of people with genuine demand. If there are more married couples, newly married couples, they are looking for a new place to stay. Then in that case, seller stamp duty won't be able to target them. Remember, seller stamp duty is very time sensitive. It targets people or sellers with 1 year to sell their flat. People with genuine demands are not going to sell their flat. Okay, so this is going to render the policy less effective if there are a lot more people with genuine demand. So this is how we want to illustrate this point, okay, on ineffectiveness. Okay, the next part is introduction of new flats. Okay, introduction of new flats, the key concept here is substitution effect. Okay, like what I've mentioned earlier on, a lot of students are stuck at the supply effects. Okay, they miss the misconception is that they group new flats together with resale flat. So notice that the resale flat has been bolded. Okay, you have to identify that these two are separate asset classes. Okay, and okay, new buyers, they can choose either to wait for a new flat or buy an existing resale flat. Okay, so keywords that you want to look out for. Okay, by building more new flats, supply will increase and this will reduce prices of new flats. And you want to relate, the emphasis is on resale flat, not new flats. So this will lead to a fall in demand due to a substitution effect. Okay, this is the price adjustment process, PAP. So I will always want you all to look out for PAP. Okay, because this question is about stabilizing price. Okay, you need to relate to the diagram. Okay, limitation, time period. Okay, time period is the limitation. So it was actually mentioned in extract 3 that okay, building flats are going to be what? Okay, are going to take a long time. Right? Therefore, the substitution effect cannot happen immediately. Okay, and your resale flats are going to experience a persistent high price because of that. Okay, the substitution won't happen immediately. Okay, so overall, okay, you realize that there's a pressing needs, okay, for housing, especially HDB resale flats. So in order to stabilize flats, prices of flats, a combination of policies should be used. Okay, so whenever you state combination, you need to justify why is there a need for combination. Right? So we can see that one of them can target long term. Okay, new flats will target long term. Okay, stamp duties short term, so they complement one another nicely. Okay, the government can just implement stamp duties immediately. Okay, everyone will be affected. Okay, but they cannot build flats immediately. All right. So there's another assumption that you want to critique. Okay, so this one can go up as a limitation for new flats. Okay, down here. Okay, this one is interchangeable with time period here. Okay, so you can also talk about how close are these two related goods. Okay, are new flats the same as resale flats? Although they are still flats, but are they necessarily the same? For instance, new flats, they are built normally at the fringe of Singapore, Punggol, Sengkang, right? Resale flats are normally at mature estates, okay, where there's more mature estates means what? They are more closer to the city fringe. So do you think they are exact close substitutes or they are weak substitutes? Okay, we can critique on that. So by building more new flats, it does not necessarily reduce price of resale flat. Okay, because weak substitutes. Okay, people may not want to stay in new flats that are too far away. Okay, so this is something that you want to consider. Huh? Okay, so with that, okay, I'm going to quickly wrap up. Okay, there are some other alternate policies. Okay, dual ownership. Okay, so I think Cheryl mentioned this. Okay, so you can look out for the answer key on how dual ownership can play around. Okay, so like I've said, overall, okay, I'm happy with whatever policies that you have stated. So long as it's from the extract, you can justify with a proper framework. Okay, which is demand and supply framework, and adopt PAP with limitation. Clear? So with this, okay, I am going to stop recording.